Hello students, I am Chef Sundar Srinivasan from AI SSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology, Pune. In this session of Food Safety Management System, we are going to go through planning and developing for safe products. This is the second session. So in this session, we will start with developing a food safety team. Very important that any organization has a good team. Now, what does this team comprise of, or what it is? Just we'll go through that. So a food safety team needs to be appointed. Now the top management will look into formulating a good food safety team. Now this food safety team should comprise of like a mixed bag, we can say. It should comprise of people with experience, certain people with good expertise, some specialized people. So you should have a mixed bag, a combination of different type of people. So it says that shall have a combination of multidisciplinary knowledge and experience in developing and implementing the food safety management system. I always say it should be a mixed bag. It will always yield good results, have a good output, a healthy team. This includes but need not be limited to organization's products, processes, equipment and food safety hazard within the scope of the food safety management system. So basically not limited to only things that you are relating to within your operation or organization. These expertise, these people could have much more wider scope of their own expertise and experience as well. Records shall be maintained that demonstrate the food safety team has the required knowledge and experience. So you should maintain records mentioning that if you have a certain member on board of a particular team, that why this particular person is a part of the team, and your records should demonstrate that this is the reason this person is a part of the food safety team. Due to the technical nature of information required for hazard analysis, it is recommended that experts who are knowledgeable in the food process should either participate in or verify the completeness of the hazard analysis and the hazard plan. So basically, one has to understand that there is a lot of technicality that is going to be involved in your organization's processes, operations. So it is recommended, they say that you have a person or maybe more than one who has this particular knowledge or is technically inclined in this particular field, so that it will help the organization to use this person's expertise to verify the analysis that is going to be done, the hazard plan that is going to be prepared, and for the other activities as well. So such individuals, they should have knowledge and experience to correctly conduct a hazard analysis. They should be able to guide the team and the management to conduct the right kind of analysis. They should be able to identify potential hazards that are going to be present in different stages of the process. They should be able to identify hazards which must be controlled. So which kind of hazards that need to be controlled, and what kind of controls need to be exercised, what kind of critical limits needs to be kept in mind, and what are the different processes or procedures that one has to put in place for monitoring and verifying the particular control that is going to be put into place. They should be able to recommend appropriate corrective actions when a deviation occurs. So whenever there is a deviation that is happening from your system, they should be able to recommend or tell that what kind of corrective actions need to take place or at that particular stage to ensure that the system is working correctly. They should be able to recommend research related to hazard plan if important information is not known. So if something that is not known, they should be able to tell to bring in expert advice or get a more research or get little more research done into this, so that they are able to gain the right kind of input. They should be able to validate the hazard plan. So the hazard plan that is going to be designed, so the team member, they should be able to validate this particular plan. Now second part, point B to A. So product characteristics. So we are going to deal first with raw materials, ingredients and product contact materials. So all raw materials, ingredients and product contact materials shall be described in documents to the extent needed to conduct the hazard analysis, including the following as appropriate. So basically this point is going to deal with what kind of materials you are going to be using, ingredients, and why you need to bring it all on paper, why you need to document this, which includes product contact materials, which means if you're going to use a certain type of equipment which is stainless steel, the product is going to come in contact with stainless steel or plastic tubs or any other material. This also should be noted down in your documents or in your procedure. So it should include the biological, chemical and physical characteristics of the ingredients that are going to be used, composition of formulated ingredients including additives and processing aids. So what kind of additives are going to be used? Is there any ingredient that is formulated together to be used, or any kind of aids, processing aids, or what kind of processing aids are going to be used in the process? Origin of the ingredient. So very important to know the origin and whether the ingredient which is coming from that origin is as per what you desire, is as per the norms, or has that person followed the right kind of processing method that you desire. What kind of production method is going to be followed by your organization in your process? What kind of packaging material, what kind of packaging is going to be done, how this packaging is going to be done, and what kind of delivery methods are going to be adopted. Storage conditions and shelf life. Yes, so basically this also has to be brought down on paper, like what kind of storage conditions are going to be involved for your product and what kind of shelf life it is going to have. Preparation and or handling before use or processing. So what kind of pre-preparation, we always know in kitchen we call it as mise à plat. So here we can consider this as a mise à plat. And what kind of pre-preparation handling is going to be done with these ingredients needs to be brought down on paper. Food safety related acceptance criteria or specifications of purchased material and ingredients appropriate to their intended uses. So again, what kind of criteria you are setting for your requirement. So whatever material that is going to be coming, so is it as per your norms, and all these needs to be brought on paper. It has to be documented. So raw materials, ingredients and product contact material, they should be described in your documents or in the documented procedure. Moving ahead, the organization shall identify statutory and regulatory food safety requirements related to the above. So wherever there are any kind of norms or rules that come into play which are binding to you, which have to be followed, bring it into your documented procedure, make it mandatory into your documented procedure, so this will not be missed out anytime. The description shall be kept up to date, including when required in accordance with relevant clause. So whenever there are any changes, in your process, in your raw material, any kind of changes, you need to bring it into your process and reintroduce the document to your team. Then we go on to characteristics of end product. So you need to also describe or bring down on paper what are the characteristics that your end product is going to have. The characteristic of end product is required to be described in documents, including, so these are the information that you would require. So what is the product name or similar identification, how it is going to be known as. Composition, what is the material, what is the composition of the product that you are offering. Biological, chemical and physical characteristics relevant to food safety. So you need to mention what kind of safety is there regarding these hazards. Intended shelf life and storage conditions. So what is going to be the shelf life of the product, under what storage conditions it has to be kept. So this needs to be mentioned. And packaging, labeling related to food safety and or instructions for handling. So labeling, different kind of, there is mandatory instructions that need to be put up on labels. So this also needs to be brought about in your documents or in the procedure whenever you are preparing your documented procedure. Preparation and usage, what kind of preparation or usage has been, preparation methods have been done, and how the usage of this particular product has to be done, has to be known. Method of distribution, this would be something that you will be putting in your documented procedure, stating how the distribution of this particular product is going to happen. So the organization shall identify again the statutory and regulatory food safety requirements. So whatever again, the rules that are going to be played by whatever the state body or the central body or your civic body needs to be brought about in your process. The description shall be kept up to date, including when required in accordance with the relevant law. So whenever there are any changes, again, you need to update your description and bring about the changes in your documented procedure. Characteristics of end product. So what are the characteristics? We'll go through. So reasonably expected handling of the end product, any unintended but reasonably expected mishandling and misuse of end product shall be considered. So basically, one person needs to judge or have a fair idea what could or how could this product be handled further, and what could go wrong if it is mishandled. Or so one should get a fair idea, and this should also be brought down on. You should bring your thoughts on making this as a into a document. So you should describe this to the extent needed to conduct hazard analysis. So it's like if it is going to be unintentional but mishandled your product. So what could be the result? What could happen to the product? So if the product remains outside your specified temperature storage, what could happen to the product? So these things need to be thought about your product. Group of users, where appropriate, group of consumers shall be identified for each product, and consumer groups known to be especially vulnerable to specific food safety hazards shall be considered. So here what exactly it means is what kind of age groups you might be having, targeting, or it might be suitable. So it could be like for infants, invalids, it could be for senior citizens, old people. You also need to take care whether there are any kind of allergens that are involved in your product, and is it going to affect a certain type of group. So all these points need to be thought about in your end product. Describe the normal expected use of food. So you need to put down that what is the normal what is going to happen to the food once it is going to be as an end product. Preparing flow chart, diagrams, process steps, and control measures. So I generally tell our students that how to relate to this. If our students know that in the first year you are taught about the hierarchy of a kitchen, which starts with chef de cuisine, followed by sous chef, then you have the chef de partie, followed by demi chef de partie. It's like a hierarchy, step by step. Similarly, you have the flow chart. It is like a step by step process that you need to follow, just like how we follow a standard recipe while doing our practicals. Similarly, a flow chart which will explain the step by step process of your entire operation. So flow diagrams are required to be prepared for the products or process categories covered by the food safety management system. These are required to provide a basis for evaluating the possible occurrence, increase, or introduction of food safety hazards. Flow diagram is required to include the following. So this diagram basically would be right from the start to the end of your process. It would include all the stages and steps, and these stages and steps would give you a fair idea that at what stage, what kind of hazard could be identified or potentially could be there, could be introduced, and what kind of control measures you can put at that particular place. So this is going to be important for in the flow diagram. So it is required to include the sequence and interaction of all steps in the operation. So how they are going to be related every step. Any outsourced process should be and subcontracted work. So if in your process, let's say you're into poultry, and you are going to get the eggs as a package, you're going to pack eggs, and you must be supporting some other poultry farm who might be bringing their eggs to your organization for packaging. So this is something subcontracted. So you need to take care, bring this also in your flowchart, that these eggs are coming from somewhere else. Where raw material ingredients and intermediate products enter the flow are released or removed. So where and what these ingredients are going to be taken care of, and what is going to happen at that particular stage for those particular ingredients. Where reworking and recycling takes place. So this also is important, that if something is going to happen at that particular stage, whether you are going to have a rework at that particular stage, is there a stage where recycle is going to happen, need to be brought about in your flow diagram. The food safety team is required to verify the accuracy of the flow diagrams on site by checking. So literally this team will actually see the process in motion, observe, and then verify whether your flow diagram is working correctly or not? Is it appropriate to your operation or not? So whenever this diagram is done and ready, it has to be maintained as a record. So it will be easy for anyone to look at this diagram and tell what exactly your process is all about, what are the different stages involved, where control points are going to be there, critical control points are going to be there, so all entire thing would be put up in your flowchart or your plan. So description of process steps and control measures. So existing control measures, process parameters, or how much you're going to apply rigorous let's say control measures are going to be rigorous at particular stage. So you need to put all that again into your flowchart. Any external requirements from regulatory authorities or customers that may impact the choice. So again, there might be certain norms that might be applicable. That also has to be brought into your flowchart or your flow diagram. So thank you all for this particular session. Students of AI SSMS, College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology, please click on the link given below and attempt the quiz. These are the references used for this particular session. Once again, thank you all and happy learning.